on Inside Jokes after the show. I'm really excited. Adam Growe, host of Cash Cab, Discovery Channel.
3 strikes, you're out. That's what I do. I don't know. I'm just making that up.
We're going to have a fun after the show. Danny Mendlow, welcome back from Tim Shaw Pictures. And Sandra Battaglini, the funny Sandra.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and that guy, the Nordic kid, the Dean Young guy.
Yeah.
The self-deprecating.
We're going with Nordic now?
The Icelandic superstar.
Yeah. Icelandic.
Finnish, yeah.
Aren't you Finnish?
Yeah, that's where all the depression comes from.
Oh. So Adam Growe, we know him from the Cash Cab, just Cash Cab even.
The Cash Cab.
8 seasons.
Yeah. And we made, it's been in over 30 different countries, but we made it our own. We made it our own Canadian version. And in fact, I got to say, you know, one of the things we were worried about with Cash Cab was, what are Canadians going to be like as contestants? Are they going to be like, oh, hi? You know, they were, Canadians were, it made the show.
Really?
Canadian contestants were absolutely fantastic.
People were really enthusiastic on that show.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, you're going to win some cash.
Yes.
Right? And I'm still giving away cash. This is my online game right now. It just kind of, this is how it starts right now. You know, you can get this on my Facebook fan page, on my Twitter, and I'll show you.
So Growe with an E, by the way.
AdamGrowe.com or on my Facebook fan page or Twitter. And you get to the app. It's a web app. And you watch a video, right? It'll come up, I promise. So you watch a video. I'm out in the field. This is done at a bar in the Junction where I live called 3030. They do a trivia night. So I go there and I hang around. So you watch a video. You answer the question. And then my kind of special sauce with my online trivia is you predict whether the people in the video are going to know the answer for extra points.
Oh,
right?
cool.
So you get to actually key in your answer. And this question, just to save time, this question is on the I'm promoting tourism in Toronto on this particular campaign. So there's a new parody of Game of Thrones called Graham of Thrones coming to Toronto. It's a touring production, Mervish production. So this question was kind of tying into that. I'm promoting Canadian theater, and I'm using my online tool to promote Canadian theater. And the question is, on Game of Thrones, when you are charged with a crime, you can opt for a trial by what? You watch the show Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Look it
Oh
up.
my God.
Don't
Combat,
spoil the show.
combat.
Yes.
Way to go, Kevin.
So on my game, you'd key in your guess, which would be combat, and then you'd predict whether these two know the answer for bonus points. And then there's a call to action.
Very cool.
Yeah,
What kind of cash? Not that it matters, but I'm Italian. I always have to ask the questions.
Just like with Cash Cab, I don't need to give away a lot of
charge?
dollars, in fact, when I do a live comedy quiz show, I've been doing stand-up in the corporate market for years, but I've, weaved in trivia with comedy. So I do a live trivia show on stage where I bring people from the audience and I give cash away on stage. And some of my clients are like, we want to give away $700 each game. I go, it's too much. It's like poker when you get your game face on.
Yes.
People can come up and win $30 and they're like tickled pink.
Yes.
Doesn't matter.
It's true. Yeah. It's like a scratch and win ticket.
And I always joke, it's a Canadian comedy show.
Yes. Well, I was going to say, sorry.
Is job quitting money for me, for sure.
That was always who did that joke? Maybe it was you. Really, it was like you always love watching game shows because the Americans $50,000 in Canada would be like, you just won $500 on definition.
Yeah.
No, $50,000 in the States, like when you're going through chemo, you need it. You know what I mean? You don't have to do that here.
And I think that we're allowed to be I joke about it, but it's okay. We can be. It's the Canadian way to be self-deprecating.
Yes.
You can still take pride in it. Yes. But there was a time. I don't know. You guys are pretty young, but there was a time. My wife still talks about it. It's like she used to flip the channels and go, "Oh, that's a Canadian show. That's a Canadian show." You could just tell.
Yeah.
Now it's getting better. Now the production quality is getting better. It's not so glaringly obvious when you're watching a Canadian television show.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. It's like, just because camera techniques are like, if you just know how to operate a camera well, and you don't have that CBC, which I call like white dead noise. Do you know that noise?
Yes.
When you're like, I hear it. I don't even. It's true.
You're like
I
a
don't
dog.
know.
You hear certain
It's the weirdest noise.
It's the CBC sound.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think CBC does make a lot of great content. Like I think Mr. D is a really funny show.
Mr. D's phenomenal.
You know what I mean?
Great.
But I do think though that there's this like obsession with making it Canadian. It's like write a show. Make it as true. Just make it true. Like what made The Sopranos an amazing show? It was a story about a family, and the subtleties of the characters was what was amazing. Like stuff that the regular population wouldn't know that Italians do, that I'd be like, oh my God, that's so like inside. How do you get that inside? Just by telling the truth.
Yeah, this is like not an argument, but I guess a point of contention I always run into. It's like, just because I don't love kind of like textbook, lame, accessible, watered down content doesn't mean I don't think it should exist. Just we should also have, like, why can't we have both? Why can't there be like prime time, gather the family around TV, and also HBO or Sky? You know, why can't we have that cable alternative? And I feel like we did for a couple years, and now it's just sort of all been swallowed up under these banners of you know, essentially 4 companies, and not one of them is taking a risk. Nobody's doing anything uncensored, edgy, unique.
Well, and here's the thing that every day, or maybe not every day, but artists are pitching the networks. They are pitching production companies with brilliant ideas. Do they get made? That's the difference. It's not like Canadians aren't creative.
Well, but not everything can get made, though.
No, not everything can. But just to say, though, let's just make more of really brilliant shit. And you have to give the artist the space to do that.
And there's only opportunities for like 1 or 2 new shows to be made.
That's right.
But the same thing happens in we talk about this, the American Superstar system. There's hundreds of pilots made every year that never see the light of day.
That's right.
Do you guys want to hear my idea called Pilots?
We picked up that. Schitt's Creek started as that.
I know I have to go to the States to make the show, but here's my idea for a reality show called Pilots. That, like, network execs go into their archives and take out pilots that were never made, or like ones that were filmed but never went to air, and then the audience gets to vote on what goes to series.
Brilliant.
So you actually either see the pilot or you get...
It's called YouTube.
But like, how many pilots are laying on the archive floors of networks that were never made, that were brilliant ideas?
Listen,
and look at what happened, like, you know, with major events like 9/11, right? All these shows were in development. I mean, it's not all about entertainment and TV, but think about all the shows that were in development, and something like that happens, and then everything gets shelved, and then they just never revisit it. I think it's a brilliant idea.
Yes, it is brilliant.
Sitting out there.
I know, like, I feel like in LA, like the thing that I've heard, because I've pitched it a few places, was who's gonna air it? Like, if it's NBC, ABC, and CBS, I mean, in the States, who's gonna air the show? And then I was like, Netflix. You know what I mean? Like, literally bringing back casts from 30 years ago, and either that they filmed the pilot and it never went to air. Because how many times you hear stories, it's like, we were just about there and they pulled the plug. So shows that were, like, you know...
Well, Sebastian Maniscalco had a show in development with Tony Danza playing his father. They aired it. Yeah, just right up to last year. And it was in development. They shot the pilot in a couple episodes, but it didn't get picked up. And I interviewed him at JFL this year, and we talked a little bit about that. You could check that online on YouTube. And that happens all the time.
It comes down to cash flow, and you can't blame them. Like, the networks, the broadcasters are saying, well, we want to make a show, we need money to make the show, but we need some sort of guarantee that we're going to be able to sell the advertising for the show and have the audience so that we have the money to pay ourselves back. And there's really no excuse when they're making so much money that they don't have enough in their pockets to do it. So, for instance, if it was more along that lines, and I went to a tech thing, I don't know if you've done this before, you go to these tech orientation speaker engagements, they're called like bar camp or whatever. You show up in a big room with about 100 people, and people pitch what they want to talk about, and everybody puts a sticky note on the topic that they want to hear, and there's only 3 rooms, and the ones with the most sticky notes get to present their idea. So that's the model that everybody's saying. It's the on-demand market. It should be based on what we want to watch, what we want to watch. We make it all. And if people go, I'm going to download that edgy kind of cerebral thing, or I'm going to download the more accessible kind of watered down thing, let the audience determine. But the networks are saying, we can't take a risk, because we need to know that the money's coming in.
That's bullshit.
So
that's like, that doesn't even make any sense.
This is what I just want to say. This the
what, me or the network?
No, the networks. No, not you.
So Letterkenny.
You're bullshit.
Letterkenny lived on YouTube, right, for a very long time. It acquired 7 million viewers, and then CTV picked it up. I saw this panel in 2015 at JFL, and Phil King, who's since been whacked from Bell Media, but he was the director, senior VP of programming for entertainment and sports, and he talked about it on a panel with the content programmers from HBO and Fox, and they all talked about what they looked for in programming. And he said, you know what, it was tried and true as a Canadian broadcaster, and we picked it up. And that's the way it should be. Very much what 100%. You're saying about the reality show. I had some comedians that we know very well talking about pitching Chorus. They made a series, and I said, put it on YouTube. No, we're going to pitch the programmers. That is the old way. The new way, and I'm not speaking on behalf of Chorus, but yes, they want tried and true stuff. And the best way, now that we have YouTube, put it up on YouTube. You don't want to put all your stuff up there.
Go out and make it, create the demand like Eddie.
You have to make it.
But here's the big, I'll have one last my big worry right now is everybody says, and I remember going to a keynote about 5 years ago at Queens and Kingston, and they were talking about there's 3 kinds of media. There's earned media, paid media, and owned media. Paid media is buying advertisements. Earned media is when you're a politician like Donald Trump and getting in the news and you just make a mockery of yourself and you get coverage. And then there's owned media. And it's a new age of owned media. We can have our own YouTube channel and all this stuff. My worry is that even those platforms are starting to strangle us like the broadcasters were. So for instance, if I don't post natively in Facebook on my mobile device, Facebook algorithms know that I'm using Hootsuite or Buffer and they squish it. And 4% of my audience on Facebook sees the content. And now they want money from me to boost my own content on Facebook for the people that are already following me.
Yes.
Right? And Twitter's going to start doing the same. And so, when we used to think, YouTube has got our own channels, we've got to make sure that they don't start to strangle us.
Yes.
Well, they're already starting it because there's now you can't.
They want to make money.
Now they have all these rules now where you can't if you want to get monetized, that you can't swear, that there's certain kind of content that they don't want. So they've just introduced a whole new series of regulations.
And now they're laughing.
As soon as money's introduced, so everything was free. Facebook was free. YouTube was free. Careers were built on YouTube from 2005. Russell Peters talks about it himself. It was there where he exploded. But as soon as, everybody started making money off it, now YouTube wants to make money off it. And Facebook wants to make money.
That's a platform where they're like, oh, okay, shit, we have millions of people clicking onto this every day. Let's sell advertising.
Yeah. And, online is just taking place of network television.
Yes.
It's just a one place where people can get, the fact that we have to still pay for stuff, go to this platform, go to that, Crave or Netflix or whatever, it's all in one place. You know what I mean?
But I like that idea of looking at ourselves in Canada, like you said, we can tell, there's so many stories we can tell here. We just have the writers here, we have the talent here, we have everything. I think we finally have started to realize that we can make stuff here that doesn't have to be the Beachcombers. You know what I mean? There's millions of stories you can tell here.
What are you talking about?
Well, we're bringing that back, apparently, I heard. But I mean, we can do so much stuff here and export it to the world. We can have stuff set in a city like Toronto because
Canadian content doesn't have to be about Canadians.
Exactly.
What does it mean? Yeah. It's so dumb. That's our Achilles heel. That's what screws us over.
That's right.
Why are we making content for 30 million people instead of 7 billion?
Yeah.
Exactly.
We should be taking pride in making the best quality content home to capitalize on it here, make money as Canadians, bolster our economy, and sell it around the world and share it.
It's a trade. It's an industry.
A hockey player that plays in Canada is a great hockey player, and the same Canadian that plays hockey on the Tampa Bay Lightning is still a great Canadian hockey player.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you know what? A story, everybody knows who Canada is. So when we feel we can't tell our stories as good as Americans or not as important, that's just bullshit. That doesn't even that's literally having an inferiority complex. Well, I don't understand how. What else is it? Yeah. What else can you attribute it to?
So Tragically Hip, people talk about why didn't Tragically Hip make it big in the States and whatever, and they were on SNL. Dan Aykroyd made sure of that way back when. Yeah. But if you listen to their songs, every other song is either about Bob Cajun, Toronto, talking very local. Americans in the world probably don't want to hear it because.
But that didn't happen early on. And Blue Rodeo did the same thing. Both of those bands went down to New York. They tried to make it in the States. There were bar bands there, and it just wasn't taking off for them. They came back home, and Tragically Hip.
It was too Canadian.
But that wasn't early on. Tragically Hip came home and then started penning all of these topographical songs about Canada, and that's when they were like, okay, we're a Canadian band forever now. We're touring.
That's still a success.
On the flip side, you got somebody like Snow who writes something that everyone can relate to. Everyone's got informers in their life, and gibberish. So
and it was bad and everything.
Okay, so then it comes back to the point. It's like be a good storyteller. I don't care if your audience is cerebral or edgy, or if it's mainstream formulaic sitcom. Be good at telling a story. Right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Right? And to Sandra's point during the show, if you missed it. One of the reasons that Tragically Hip became, a big phenom in Canada was because they were touring and going out and seeing people in arenas and face-to-face and the experience. And that's what stand-up comics need to do. And I was even saying before the show, I'm missing not being out there in the public. And it's my fault.
I think something that Sandra really hits home, though, is that Canadian comics are already doing that. We're hugely innovative. Brian Aylward is a Newfoundland comedian who nobody except for other comics know. He's founded and started an entire Southeast Asian Canadian comedy scene. And when he was teaching English in South Korea, it's now in like 14 countries, and they love Canadian comics. Canadian comics are going halfway across the world, performing English-speaking stand-up comedy, across all these countries because of a Canadian. You don't know that story. I know the story because I know the guy.
Well, and you know what? I wanted to say, Danny brought up a great point. We were just having chicken wings, I think, and it was like, why doesn't the Canadian government or someone just sponsor a tour, like an international Canadian caravan, and just have them tour and, like, I don't know, just start owning up to, hey, you know what? We got some funny people here. And I think
why do we have to go, back and forth between Vancouver Island and Newfoundland, 500 times and hope that that's the ceiling right now? But
hey, I'm doing
it's also, as you keep saying, it's on the artist to shift their mindset from, oh my God, I'm hitting the Canadian comedy ceiling and I can't do anything. Yeah, you can. You can be like Pete Johansson and go to Edinburgh 8 years in a row and blow
you
the
have to do
minds.
it. You got to do what it takes. Like, even if it sucks that we have to spend $10,000, $15,000 to go to the States, and until that changes, but if that's what you want, then do it. And, whatever it takes. Like the other thing too, like, you could get a job in the States and someone else pays you for it. But like whatever it takes for you to get your voice out there, your stories heard. It's really kind of up to you.
But the easiest, most economical, and most economically successful and viable path is turn on a camera, film something in Toronto.
Film something.
There's not a more diverse city in the world. You want to make something that the whole world can watch. There's no better place to do it than here.
Tim Shaw Pictures, the production quality of what they put out is incredible. We were talking about earlier, even what you're doing with Phil Nitterati and stuff. The production quality, even when the girls were in, Kelly Fanson and Kate Davis, their best before, it's like incredible stuff being put out, and this is just their own money, and for the most part. Pardon me?
You could build it yourself and then pitch it to people. Like the stuff that Danny and them shoot with Too Far. Like, look at the stuff of Pew that just came out, right?
Yeah, Rob
You could throw that on Comedy Network as part of a special. You wouldn't know the difference quality-wise.
Exactly.
Why isn't that on there?
Well, like this is from Vince's phone.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I mean, on the one hand, there's almost no excuse. If you're not making other kind of content, especially with what's at your fingertips, you can have your own production studio on your computer at home. But it reminds me of, and again, I'm old, not just me, but it reminds me of like graphic design in the 80s when everybody got fancy computers and everybody became a graphic designer.
Yes.
Right?
That's a good
point. The technology's there, but the good ones survived. Just because you're a comic and you now can make, you still have to be a good storyteller.
Yes.
You have to be good at it.
There you go, and that's an important point.
So don't whine. The only reason I'm not famous is because of our star system in Canada.
No.
You got to be good too.
Good point, Adam.
You got to be funny. You got to create quality
And you
content.
have to be tireless. You have to, as a content creator and as a comic now, like you have to have your hand in a million different things at all the time.
I have this analogy that's probably maybe lame, but I shared it with people. I'm like, okay, for example, you make fences, right? You make fences. You're a really successful fence company in Canada, right? You have a patented lock system. People are like, this is the best thing. And then you're like, where else can I go and sell this? And so you're like, well, I'm going to go to different geographies to do this kind of thing. That's how we have to see ourselves as comics, as content creators. Where can we go to talk about our ideas? These are just ideas. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, I know the fence. I don't know why the fence company came in, but you understand what I mean? You know what I mean?
I'm going to tell you something.
You push it around the world.
What's that, Dean? We're going to close it up.
Okay. Yeah, but look at how much Netflix has opened that up. We'll watch comics from Australia right now, just because those are just good
Jefferies,
comics. Who happen to be from there. They aren't up there doing 20 minutes about a dingo ate my baby. They just happen to be from Australia, and we're watching them worldwide.
Wow. And someone like Jim Jefferies gets to know the market he's in. Well, all the big comics do, and he does a great job. I just saw him live as part of JFL 42, and he really does it. Like, he did a whole bit on Maritimes. He did a whole bit on Vancouver. He really investigates the country he's performing in, and I think he makes it relevant to the audience. And going back to what you said, you got to make good storytelling, good content. I'm going to tell you something about Chorus, and not just because this is the home of the show, but great news here. Chorus is just acquired the Shaw TV properties like HGTV, and we had W Network, but HGTV and a series of others like Slice and others. And so there's always hope, right? They're always looking for content in this company. And I know Chorus is one of the big three, but you just never know. And with change, there's hope. And so keep putting your products out there for the content producers. You never know what's going on. Not that I'm being informed of what's going on in the building, but in a future episode, we are going to have a production executive from original programming from Chorus TV. So that's going to be exciting. I also want to congratulate Brendan County, who used to be the comedy content programmer at Hulu, who just got appointed programmer for original programming at Showtime, which is big time. So we're going to have him on the show eventually too. So a lot of big decision makers coming up on our show. Stay tuned. Always listen to Inside Jokes on YouTube. Or where do we? Yeah, AM 640 and iTunes and Omni FM. Thanks for watching Inside Jokes after the show.